Hello and welcome to Earth is Waking Up. I'm your host, Jeremy Anderson. Today our guest, Halo Marques. Welcome.
How you guys doing?
Halo Marques is the creator and founder of Mistech. He approaches his day-to-day with the mindset, consideration, and heart of a Jedi alchemist, finding ways to help you acknowledge your lead and transform your lead and transform into gold. Mistech is his main focus, as he believes fixing the physical bioelectric circuit board by removing EMF pollution will allow optimization for people to be able to embrace everything about themselves. But Mistech is just the foundation for a much broader vision. I love that. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you. It is Marques, but I get it all the time. Oh, okay. And my Starbucks never says Halo, it says Caleb. So one out of two is not bad. It's great.
Marques, okay. Like car keys. Okay.
That's it.
So, all right. So first of all, so maybe if you could explain. So EMF. Let's just cover the bases, right? What is EMF? What do people need to know? What is that?
So I like to keep everything in very layman and just so we understand stuff. So I'm going to give two answers for EMF. The scientific actual abbreviation means electromagnetic field, but when you're out and about talking about EMFs, a lot of times people say electromagnetic frequencies. Mm-hmm. So only for, like, there's grammar Nazis out there that if it's not an apostrophe, you're crazy. There's physicists out there that if you say electromagnetic frequency, they get upset, even though what the electromagnetic field is filled with are frequencies. So it's EMFs essentially are all these different little fields that the electronics around us make that are artificial. They're non-conducive fields for the human body. Yeah. But the Earth itself has its own electromagnetic field, and that's how all life has developed. And that's what the main focus of Mistech is removing those artificial frequencies from the body so the body's working the correct way. That's it.
So now pretty much everything is frequency and everything emits a field of energy, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
So what's different and why is it we talk about EMFs?
So they're electronic. So they can affect things in a different caliber. Like for the people out there that have their minerals and crystals, right? That amethyst piece that Margot's got in her pocket when she's sitting over in the grass getting all excited, that amethyst holds a frequency, right? And that frequency is affecting her body in a very specific way, right? But if you go and set that stone on top of your cell phone, it's not going to make your cell phone go erratic and chaotic because it's not a strong enough electromagnetic field. On the other hand, you can get a magnet that has a very powerful electromagnetic field about it and put that on your phone and will wipe your phone. So the EMFs that we're talking about, what most people are talking about, the reason we're focused on EMF fields instead of just all the resting frequencies that are out there is they can affect other things around us in both a positive and negative way on a much grander scale.
Mm-hmm. So EMFs, if they affect us, how do they affect us? And what devices, what type of EMFs affect us and how?
So just generally speaking, almost every electrical device that's plugged in, we'll go with, or is a cell phone that has that very strong battery in it, generates a field almost up to 5,000 feet out, right? So just you standing where you are right now, all the electronics within your house, neighbors, any of those things, all those different fields are overlaying over your body. And at a quantum level, your protons, which is what your electric current runs through in your body, like if someone smacks you or steps on your toe, that pain that you're feeling is actually an electrical current running through your nervous system. But even at a much deeper level, at quantum level, that's running through your protons. Like that's the system that it uses. So when these different electromagnetic fields are out there, they're creating chaos in the way your protons are spinning. So the fastest way to get from point A to point B is a straight line. Well, these EMFs are distorting that, so that straight line is no longer there, so those signals get all distorted instead of going straight like they're supposed to.
Yeah.
So what Mistech does is we're able to imprint a resonant frequency that once it gets within an inch of your body, it acts like a tuning fork and sets all your protons to the exact same direction, 7.83 hertz. And now your electric system is working correctly, and because of that circuit being completed, that creates a very strong field within your body that's normal. And because that field's there, it helps EMFs get diffused out and they don't have a place to be within the body anymore.
Yeah. So pretty much all sickness and disease, not that we're health experts, but basically all sickness and disease is because of some of those signals in the body being out of whack, right?
Well, absolutely, absolutely. And that's the big thing that I always try to stress, and hopefully everyone that is part of Mistech is we really want to offer the educational piece more than people buying. Because whether you get it or not, you still need to know what is your body and what's happening to it, right? Yeah. So, and this is what we talk about a lot. If you have some type of illness, sickness, disease, whatever, we're not saying that those things are not real, and we're not saying that electronics and Wi-Fi and 5G are causing them. That's not it. But we're saying what is happening in your body is being highly, highly disoriented and marginalized to be much worse than it's supposed to be because of the erraticity of what's going on in the body and its inability to function optimally.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you have fibromyalgia, very quick example, like that can be very, very debilitating. It can be very painful. It can, and they don't even fully know what that is yet. But if that pain should only be at like a 2, because of the electric distortion in the body, it's going to feel much higher up. It's going to be more frequent in intensity, all those different things. So again, we're just making sure the body's working correctly. So what you're experiencing is real. You know, imagine going to the gym and not knowing that people are putting wrist weights and ankle weights on every single day. And you're just like, man, this is so difficult. I can't do it. But it's because you have these things that are holding you from what you're naturally supposed to be able to do. So we're just creating devices that allow you to go in and energetically, for lack of a better term, remove these ankle and wrist weights so your body's performing normally without this stuff debilitating.
Yeah, so it seems to me like when energies get discordant and disharmonious, when they're kind of scattered and all over the place, which happens from, you know, I know Facebook's algorithms are geared that way to hijack our attention and scatter it so that we don't think about anything other than just being on Facebook. And I know that all through our society, there's been so much of this, and including with our health and with the 3G, 4G, 5G phone networks and
10G coming.
All this energy that we're bombarded with that's throwing off our natural system from being in harmony.
Yeah.
And so my understanding is with these Mistech products that they have some effect in reharmonizing the body.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the protons, and so just wonder if you could explain a little more about that whole harmonization process.
Yeah. So we have a very specific machine that we developed a little over a decade ago, which is very, very proprietary. I've walked away from millions of dollars for people just to see it. Wow. It's not worth it to me. The machine can do a lot of crazy things, but we're using it for how I think Tesla would have in a lot of good ways. I hope that's my intent, at least. Yeah. And so we're able to take any solid object. We need a crystalline molecular structure. That's the science part of it, but essentially if it's metal, mineral, glass, solid, depending on the material type, we calibrate our machine, we put it in, and on average it sits for about 20 hours until it now holds this new, very specific resonant frequency field. So like you can take a piece of metal and turn it into an electromagnet, right? And that electromagnet needs something metallic to catalyze for the effect to happen. What we're creating needs something biological. So once it gets within about 1 inch of your body, that's what allows all these things in your body to change. But if we remove the human body out of the equation, you can take a piece of Mistech and put it around like a glass of water and freeze it, and it'll freeze a pattern into the ice that you can see the field it makes.
Wow.
Like
so that's similar to Masamune Emoto's work, right?
Yep. But with this, the frequency is telling the water that it's good.
Wow.
Really, that's what happens. And so it's been around, we've been doing this about a decade. And we've had people, cancel surgeries, get off the medication. And then when you take the bracelet off, around 30 to 36 hours, your body resets and everything comes back. And so that's another thing that's really amazing is you get to find out how intelligent your body really is, even if sometimes we're not. Like there's all sorts of things I didn't know. And then I got a frequency. I'm like, whoa, that feels so crazy. And my body knew before I did. And then I looked it up, and it's like, this frequency is for that. I'm like, my body knew that. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to get people back into a harmonic state with themselves. And that's just, like you said, there's a lot of things out there to distract and confuse. And a lot of that's happening internally without people knowing.
So I think more and more of us are learning and realizing that our body does have an innate sense of intelligence that knows how to heal itself when it's given the proper tools and energy. And
right. Yeah. And so on our site, so people can have a better idea of what this is, there's a thing, and you can even look it up on YouTube. There's an amazing documentary called Resonance Beings of Frequency. It's like almost a 2-hour-long documentary done by third-party physicists that breaks down every single thing anyone could ever want to know about EMFs, the harm of them, all of that. I tell anyone that's going to watch it, make sure you're in an absolutely amazing mood before you watch it, because by the time you're done, you will not be. It's impossible. And this video was done back in 2012. And from then, you know, science from 1980 to 1990 was kind of slow moving, right? From 90 to 2000, much faster. So 2000 to 2015. So I'm saying from 2012, what you saw then, how bad it was, the amount of technological advancement, spread of cell towers, all these things, it's way worse than what you're going to see in this documentary now. Yeah. And what I mean by worse, just a really quick example, one of my favorite things they show, they get like a blowhorn, right? But they build a device that instead of when you talk into the mic, it actually picks up all the EMFs that are around. And they go to a park, and they turn it on, and it's like, and it sounds like 1,000 transformers are screaming at each other.
Wow.
And it is debilitating to hear, and you're going, this is what your body is actually hearing this entire time, all the time, everywhere that you are. No wonder you're so irritated and depressed and crazy and can't think. All these things are confusing and causing disharmony within multiple layers of your being.
Wow.
Like there's no way that that's healthy. And then you find out the companies that build all this stuff know all this. And the companies that regulate it are companies that built all this stuff in the first place. And then they build a branch to regulate their own stuff.
Right. Well, and then the people that build it are the ones that are creating the regulations for it, so they allow all these harmful frequencies.
Right.
I've heard military whistleblowers talking about how like 5G is military grade weaponry against our energy bodies.
Yeah. And it's one of the things that I physically felt these 5G towers, like when they were working on them being put up, and it's not a good feeling at all. And the fact that they're putting it up for convenience, like this reestablishes again the human condition. Like if it makes my life easier, I don't care about my health. If it makes my life easier, I don't care about what the other versions are. Like it's a crazy acceptance of reality that we've been offered, and a lot of people are just biting at it. But we're lucky enough to have also enough people also to know that this is not how it's supposed to be. And
well, I'm guessing that all the listeners that are listening to this are probably clued in at least enough to know that we likely do need some sort of protection.
Yeah.
So I thought it was important to just talk a little about it. But as far as now that it's been established, yes, it's a good idea to have some sort of protection. Yeah. How best could we go about this? What are some strategies?
So I don't want to just promote Mystic the whole time. But I mean, this is all I've been doing for a decade and even longer than that. But it's been for what our product can do, there's not anything else on the market that I'm aware of. And I'm very big on finding out about competition, about other new technology coming out. And we've even had companies do like live blood test videos.
Like this, I've been wearing this Q-Link for the last probably over a decade.
Yep. And they definitely do some things. And so this is, I'm glad you showed me that. This is really important that I want people to really understand. Yeah. So for things like Q-links, scalar energies, ions, magnet, all these different things that are out there, I'm not in any way saying that they're not helping some part of the body or some part of the human condition, right? But for magnets, and we might have talked about this, the iron in your blood, right, is supposed to be magnetable, right? It's magnetic. So when you have a magnet on your wrist, it pulls the iron in your blood faster and increases your circulation. The problem with that is scientifically, when iron is oxygenated in the blood, it's not magnetic. So that's impossible for that to be the reason that it's helping.
Yeah.
Now, we acknowledge the musculatory system, circulatory system, skeletal system of the physical being of the body. But when we talk about the energy body, people get one of two things generally. They imagine a chakra system, or they imagine a silhouette that's glowing. And that's it. But the energy body also has multiple systems. You've got your Merkaba, your energy meridians, you've got polarity. There's so many other things that are there. You have magnet energy, a magnet body. So all these things that are there, these magnets, they're probably working on other parts of our being that we're not even aware of yet. So it's not to say that they're not helping. They're just not helping the circulation in the way that people are being stated that they are.
Yeah.
For ions, most of the ion technology that's out there, like the ion bracelets, those little ion things only barely hang on to the piece of jewelry or necklace, whatever it is, for 3 to 6 months at best, and then they dissipate out and they don't do anything anymore. And even for what the ions do, it's still not diffusing EMFs out of the body. It has to do with the negative and positive ions in the body. So it's still improving, but it's not doing anything for EMFs in the way that Mystech is. Right? Same thing for scalar. This is working on scalar energy. It's doing something for EMF diffusion or EMF confusion on the body, but it's still not like aligning your protons and getting rid of the EMFs out of your body.
Yeah.
So this is why when I was in Canada, a company that's been disproving all of these things for years using live blood tests was freaked out when ours actually changed the blood. We're the first ones to be able to do that they've ever seen. When some guy that does EMF diffusion, and same thing, none of these diffuse EMF out of the body that I've seen, it does that as well. So I'm not trying to brag or say go buy it or any of those things. I'm just saying comparatively for what we're saying our tech does, no other tech out there does that. That's not to say don't still wear that necklace, because that necklace could be doing something I'm completely unaware of.
Yeah.
It's not to say don't have a good diet, don't not have orgonite, don't not carry crystals. But for EMF protection, those shields, get rid of your EMF shields. That is the biggest joke and damaging that you can do to yourself. It's crazy to me. And I'll explain why. Check this out. Where's my phone?
Yeah, what's an EMF shield? Like a little sticker you put on your phone?
Right. Or you put on the inside. And I want everyone to understand this. This is crazy. And this is what I mean. Because of fear, we'll do anything to not be scared. We won't even think about what we're doing. I just don't want to be scared. Right? Yeah. So EMFs are really bad for you guys. You need a shield. What does a shield do? It deflects stuff. Right? Yeah, typically. So if you get a big shield on the back of this, right? Big shield on the back of this, it's deflecting it. Well, what about this side?
Yeah, twice as much coming out this side.
Exactly. So that's not really protecting you. Yeah. And that's just keeping your cell phone from that one little patch to hit you. What about all the other electronics that are still messing with you? Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like there's a lot of great salesmen out there, and there's a lot of scary people and terrified people. And so not all of these things that are out there are really conducive, but alleviation is still healthy.
Yeah. So is there somebody that tests these different products, or have you tested these different products to see if any of the others like measure up? Or
never. I mean, yes, we've tested them, but never. The same way, like I said, this company that's been doing this for 8 years, never do they see any of these things happen, ever. Wow.
So what kind of testing have you done that people would want to hear about?
So I'm very hands-on, and I believe in individuals having the experience, right? But as far as different testing that we've done, like on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook, we have it's one of my favorite videos. You know those little small fluorescent light bulbs? Uh-huh. So those actually use mercury on the inside, and when it speeds up from electricity, that's what lights them up. Okay. Right? So if you can go buy, and anyone can do these experiments, and this is what I like, do your own experiments. Like, I own the company. Listen, guys, I understand I can say anything I want to you, and you just have to take it with a grain of salt. I hate that. All the experiments we talk about, I want you to be able to do these yourself as well. Like, just because I said it, you can believe me, thank you, but don't. Like, have your experience. This is important. So you can go to, like, you know, Walmart, Spencer's Gifts, whatever, and buy one of those little Tesla balls that shoot plasma out, right? Those generate a very, very strong electromagnetic field. Very strong. So if you take one of those little fluorescent light bulbs and hold it up to it, it'll actually light it up wirelessly. Yeah. However, if you take one of our bracelets and hold it in between it when you hold it up, it doesn't light up because it blocks off the electromagnetic field from affecting it. Wow. But if you take one of those scalar necklaces and hold it up, guess what? It still lights up. If you take an ion bracelet, guess what? It still lights up. If you take any of the other, oh, we use frequencies too. Wow, how do you guys do that? Because I developed the machine and I didn't tell anybody how it worked. Oh, well, we put a lot of intention into it. I'm not saying that that's not doing something, but I'm saying at a scientific level, it's not doing anything.
Yeah.
I had a company once tell me that they play music into it. I'm like, why did we like put $5.5 million worth of research into a modified MRI machine if we could just sing to it?
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. And again, I'm not saying that these things aren't helping on some other way, but at a comparative level, it's not.
Yeah.
So this is what I like to use as a comparison. If you go back, like I grew up in Iowa, right? So you do a lot of just mundane stuff to find entertainment. And we used to, run a cup, 2 cups with a string, really, really long, and go, hey, can you hear me? From way over there, and it works.
Wow.
Right? And that's not to say that that cup and string is no good.
Yeah.
It works for what we needed.
Yeah.
But then I got a little bit older, and they released things called walkie-talkies, and the string went away. And now look, it does the exact same thing, but the technological advancement's even better, and other people can tune into the same channel without having to attach string. That's an improvement. It's not saying that the couple isn't working. This is better. But then we got cell phones, and they were flip phones, and that's better than the walkie-talkie. Well, now we've got smartphones. So I'm just saying, comparatively, strictly a technological comparison, we're the smartphone without the negative EMF stuff, because that's exactly what we're taking away.
Yeah. So what is, I want to cover the company vision and mission, because that's just, not many companies have such an enlightening way to benefit humanity in such a way. Can you talk a little about the vision, mission, and maybe even the 9 pillars that you're working with?
Yeah. So I believe that at an innate level, people are good. Regardless of what we see on the day-to-day and all that stuff, that they are. They're good. They have good morals, but we're put in a very non-conducive environment for a loving human being.
Yeah.
Right? And so a lot of times people are mean, or they're short, or they're cross, and it's because, guys, we all go through these different traumas, whether it's emotional, mental, or physical, that we're not allowed to talk about. We're not allowed to admit to or bring up, or you're weak, or you're crazy, or you're being too feminine, or whatever it is that is just so toxic. So with Mistech, if we have the ability to go in and diffuse any of these things and get these traumas, these physical pains gone and everything, it's not that we're trying to heal you. It's that we're trying to give you part of your life back. And no one that I've ever spoken with is focused on their pain as much as they're focused on what they can't do because of it. So if we allow that to get alleviated in any way, shape, or form, they start being nicer to their family at home. And then the family's nicer in the community. And so many times people follow up with me like, hey, I didn't think this was real. Is there anything else out there I should look into? And I'm like, you should start meditating. You should look into self-development. You should look at your diet. You should look at, and so it's been an amazing Trojan horse of self-development for so many people. And that's really my vision for what we're doing. Mistech is a small part of what we're working on to really create like the next golden age, in a place where we can all talk to each other about everything, and we can go and we can create and we can manifest. But here's the thing, if your body physically is not conductive, right, and it's not working correctly, how are you going to be able to have access to these other energy fields that are out there when your own body's not working correctly?
Yeah.
So this is our way of just introducing you to be able to get more familiar with who you are and what your body's doing, what it can do, and then take that and build on that. Not just what you're told that you should and shouldn't be able to do, but what you actually can know and feel and experience yourself. Yeah. And so that's, it'd take me 4.5 episodes for us to get into the full vision of all of it. But in short, we're using this to give people their life back, and so they can just be happier and better and healthier, so they can take that with them everywhere they go. And that just is, again, another resonant field that's out there making the next person better, and so on.
Yeah, because our health affects so much of how we feel. No matter how wealthy somebody is, if they don't feel good, it doesn't matter. And so the more we can feel good in all these ways, we show up better in the world, and we affect those around us in much better ways. And so we're creating harmony in the world when we're harmonized. And so
Yeah, so that's you know, I don't really sleep because I'm so excited about knowing that. Like we really and that's the thing. Like I love, like, you know, since we were getting set this up, we've had a bunch of sales come through on my phone, and that's great. But I know half of the people that bought that, I'm gonna hear an amazing story from, and happiness and excitement
Yeah.
and gratitude. And these are things like, dude, it's crazy to me that gratitude and appreciation are like the two most underused emotions that we have.
Right. Yeah.
And it's because people just aren't used to using them. And so
Yeah.
that's another thing, is once they feel better and they tell me about it, now they just did a form of appreciation and graciousness,
Yeah.
that now that they've done it, that pattern started. And now we don't know how much farther that's going to go,
Right.
but it's at least started. And
Can
so
you tell?
that's, I mean, man, we just, good.
Can you share with us some of the
Can I
maybe?
what?
Can you share with us maybe some of the most transformational stories that you've heard from people?
Oh man, absolutely. Dale Nelson, and it's funny because no one's asked me that in a while, but people were sick of hearing the Dale story because it's my absolute favorite. And we've moved things around, so I'd have to find it, but oh, part of the story. So I'm in Portland, and we were working down at the Saturday market, right? It's like a big outdoor, like farmers market, but huge.
Yeah.
And we also had a location at the Clackamas Mall, Vancouver Mall, and I'm down at the market having a great time talking with people, and all of a sudden I hear this like loud voice behind me go, "Hey, are you Halo?" And I turn around, and it's this pretty tall guy. I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm here to kick your ass." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I'm kidding, man." Oh, I lost you. You still hear me? Did you hear all that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And he's
yeah,
like,
start going
"All
through.
right, good." And he's like, "I'm just kidding, man. I love you." And he just gives me this huge hug,
Oh.
right? Well, what had happened was he had broken his knee, or had knee surgery like 14 years ago, and had pins and rods and the whole everything, and a crazy limp. And they had spent, I think, $15,000 or so on treatments on all these things, and limp, terrible pain his whole life. So his wife had actually met my brother, who was running our Northwest region for a while, at the Vancouver Mall location. And when she came home with a $60 bracelet that this is going to fix everything, he had a meltdown, and they had a huge fight and a screaming match. And because of his pain and everything already, he's already a grumpy guy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So she convinces him, you know, it's a 30 money back guarantee. He said, wear it for a week, and if you don't like it, you can come throw it in his face. And so he goes, that was my plan was. And so I went to the mall to talk to you because you're the owner, but your brother said you were down here at the market. And so I just wanted to tell you. And he reaches into his back pocket, and he literally hands me his knee brace and says, I don't need this anymore.
Wow.
Dude, we both cried a little bit, hugged him for I don't even know how long. And then his wife like followed up with me a few weeks later, and she's like, Halo, I have to thank you guys again. My husband's been taking me out to eat. We've been reaching out to family members. He's been wanting to get into meditation, and like you gave me my husband back, and now he's just developing into this even more amazing person. And it's all because of Mistake. And I was just like, there's like that story all by itself. There's not any amount of money I could ever get to feel what I feel because of that.
Wow.
And we have thousands of these stories, thousands. And so that's why I don't understand the human condition of all the focusing on all these other things, like transforming lives and making improvements. Like what could be more important than that? What? And with that being said, like the money comes, who cares? But the bills get paid, all those stuff. But in the meantime, Dale, now they're friends of the family. Like we've gone out to dinner with them. They've come over here and hung out with us and building a community. And that's one person. My brother's favorite story, same mall, same bat time, same bat channel, you know. There was a girl there, I believe her name was Abby, and same thing. She had like a really bad limp, and her whole life, nothing her family could do. She got one of the bracelets, could walk completely fine, completely fine. Her entire family, like she has a big Hispanic family, all showed up and made my brother take a break to take him out to dinner as a thank you. And they all cried and everything, and she'd been dealing with this her whole life. We had a guy, he sent me like a 3-page long email testimonial. This guy named Stan, that had debilitating pain through his entire body, was starting to get the onset of Parkinson's, was a military vet, just amazing guy, very, very intelligent. was becoming bedridden. Got this, everything went away. Parkinson's, nothing. Pain, nothing. Everything is working totally fine in the body. And he had had this stuff going on for a decade or more, and he'd been wearing it for I think 6 months by the time he'd sent it to me, and hadn't had a single spell in 6 months.
Wow.
Like we have, if you go to our YouTube, you'll see older testimonials. And again, I'm just not good about updating it. I'm too focused on all this other stuff. We're getting there. But we've got tons of videos of people with like rotator cuff where they've been stuck here. We'll put 5 or 6 pieces on their shoulder, and 2 minutes later, they go like this and freak out. And they're like, but I had surgery. And I'm like, yeah, but your electric system was not working.
Yeah.
So that's what this is doing. That's all we're doing, is just fixing the electric body. That's it. And that's not the same as the energy body.
Yeah.
So many people come to me and like, oh, this is going to line my chakras. I'm glad you know about that, but no. This is so with your, things like Reiki and Qigong and your crystals and your, like, generally speaking, that's working 80% on your energy body and only 20% on your physical. Yeah. Mystech is the opposite. It's working 80% on your physical body. Like it's affecting the way your cells work.
Wow.
So yeah, and that's just a few of the testimonials, but there's a lot, man. It's hard to get tired when I'm in a very state of emotional bliss all the time, with what I feel is the most fulfilling thing I could ever do. Like,
yeah. So you don't sleep hardly.
No, you don't. I'm telling you, I'm working on some trainings and books and stuff, but sleep's not real. You don't need sleep. You need rest. And most people rest on accident while they're sleeping. That whole 8-hour thing is because most people need 2 to 3 hours of sleep to relax enough to get into that deep rested state that they need to be in, and then a few more hours to get out. Well, lo and behold, most of that is because when you're laying there and you're not putting any pressure, any focus, anything, your body's very intelligent. It's a biomechanic machine. It's incredible. It's the most amazing thing on the planet right now, right? So when you're not doing anything, all the EMFs and all the fields that are around you are making your body haywire while you're trying to sleep. So that's why it needs all this extra time to relax and adjust and like, okay, well, that's the TV and that's the cell phone. Okay, I'm good. And then you go into the rest state. So with this, we cut off all that outside distortion and you're able to go into that deep state much faster. So you don't need as much sleep to get the rest that you need. Mm-hmm. So I meditate a couple times a day. Anything done with intent is always better than anything done on accident. So that intentional meditation, that intentional rest, my body gets everything that it needs. And the rest of the time, I'm going off of the excitement of what we're able to get. Mystech, but I mean, as a whole, what we can all create while we're here and just revealing that to people and helping them see it and helping them see me, like what I can create. Like we're all just guides for each other. We've all got different little pieces, but without the body working normally, we don't know what we're capable of.
Yeah. So you've done, back to the testing. One of the things I wanted to bring up is the live blood analysis, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that when I've seen that with anything, to see the difference from the clustered up red blood cells to where they have their energy back to where they could maintain their space better and flow a lot better. Can you just talk some about that?
Yeah. So again, as the body is intelligent, the blood cells themselves, like these things are little work machines. They know exactly what they're doing. But again, the as above, as below, right? Well, that's as macro to micro. So whatever's happening on the outside of the body is also happening on the inside. So while the brain might not be able to function fully because of the erratic EMF distortion, your little cells that are trying to work, they're getting the same level of confusion going, well, is it supposed to be this or is it supposed to be that? And they kind of give up a little bit. And that's why they're not stable and why they look like they're breaking down and they're not taking in the oxygen the right way and they're not hydrating the right way because they're not working the right way either. So when you see the live blood test, the woman's like, I even the technician, she's like, I don't know how this is happening. Like, I think it's oxygenating the blood, which it's not. It's allowing the body to work better. So more oxygen's coming in that was already supposed to do that.
Yeah.
So that's why you see such a quick and it was 4 hours. And I've had people, it's funny, man. It doesn't matter what shows or videos that we provide. There's always the cynic that goes, that's not a thing. So anyone that sees this, I need them to understand that when she started the blood test, she didn't go eat food. She didn't go get water. She didn't go for a run. She literally just sat there with the Mystech on.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only thing that changed in the rest of the controlled experiment.
Yeah.
And that's all she needed.
So those videos are impressive to me because it shows, because that's a huge difference in one's health. Now, I've heard a lot talked about the importance of pH in the body and how that affects the red blood cells and the ability for those to flow freely. And I'm curious if you have an idea of, because mostly doctors I've heard talk about it, but now I'm so curious now if you're doing similar tests and getting similar results without being focused on the pH levels, but just with the frequency of these wristbands.
Yeah, so
how does that work?
So the company that did this test initially was doing it to disprove it, and then freaked out that it actually improved everything. Right? Because again, like I said, every time they've done these tests, no other company they've ever seen in 8 years, no matter how many shows they do, there's never anything that happens. So since they've done, I think, like 16 plus more tests on different people.
Yeah.
And same thing for all those. It doesn't matter what those people's diet are. It doesn't matter what their pH. It doesn't matter what any of those things are. The moment they put Mistech on, within 4 hours, because it takes a little bit of time. It actually takes about a week for it to max out, but we say 4 hours minimum. Everyone improved. Every single person. Does not matter. Doesn't matter. And that's what I mean. Like, this is all those other things. Those are bits and pieces of the machine, right? Yeah. But if the base foundational part of the machine's not working, it does not matter. So that's why what's great about this is we've still yet in a decade, I've been yet to meet my kryptonite. I've not come across something that we cannot improve.
Wow.
It does not matter what it is. And this is the thing that people have to really consider for a second. It doesn't matter if your pain is in your foot, in your head, in your tooth, that all uses the exact same nervous system. Yeah. So it's so funny to me when I'm out doing events and people, and they come up to me like, how can I help the ankle and the shoulder? Like, what does the pain system in the body use? Like, what? That's all your nervous system, right? So if we fix the nervous system, it doesn't matter where it is in the body.
Yeah.
Right? If your brain, the electric system, right? That's all electric. So if that's erratic, we fix that. That's why I can fix the brain. But we're not healing or improving anything. We're just removing these things so your body's normal. Like, people need to understand they are divine beings here. They're perfect, but they're just in a non-conducive environment, and everything has been very stripped away slowly and surely, and then reinforced that it's for good things.
Yeah.
So anytime we introduce Mistech to somebody, I'm very, very blunt about, hey, a week from today, if you're not absolutely blown away with what this is doing for you, take it off for 2 days and let your body go back to how it was before, and then tell me what you think. Since we started doing that, every single person is like, now people are like, I didn't even want to take it off. Like, I could tell I got better. But every once in a while we'll get that person like, I didn't realize it was helping so much until I took it off.
Yeah.
And then, we've got, distributors all over the world, and I don't think there's a single distributor that we have that wears less than maybe 4 or 5 pieces, because there's also a compounding effect of putting more on. Right? I don't like to talk about that when I'm at events, because to me it just sounds salesy, like, hey, buy more. You'll feel even better. I tell everyone, start with 1, and unless you're out there trying to save the world or the multiverse or whatever, then just stick with 1. You're good. Like, save your money, go have experiences, go spend time with your friends and family. That's healing too. But if you're a crazy person like some of us, try another one, maybe. And if you don't like it, you always have a 30-day money-back guarantee. But it's like, this is my story I like to tell people, right? This is great. I lived in Arizona for a while, and I used to have to walk everywhere, and it's terrible, especially growing up in Iowa, where it's nice and cool out and you're outside. And I used to ride my bike from one town to another town, the good old days. Yeah. Arizona, you walk, 6, 7 blocks, and you're terrified. You're like, am I going to make it? Yeah. So my first car I got, his name was Wody, right? We called him Wody because he was a little 76 Civic hatchback with about 18 colors of yellow, 6 colors of rust. There wasn't even a back seat. It was like a piece of plywood that someone put to transport stuff around. And at the right angle, you could see the ground while you were moving under the car, right? No radio, no AC. But if you roll the windows down, it'd be cool. Greatest thing I'd ever had in my entire life, Jeremy. Greatest thing. I was so excited to have this car, right? Maybe a year or 2 after that, I got a Lancer Evo, brand new. And then I realized what a piece of crap I've been driving around this whole time. That's kind of how everyone is in their body right now. They don't know what the new model feels like because they've been driving this thing around for so long thinking it's so good. They don't know what they're missing out on.
Yeah. Wow.
And so that's what's been so awesome about Mistech is once they get it and they feel this improvement, they're like, holy crap, what else have I been missing out on?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, we're very comfortable with the routine of just waiting around to see what's going to happen next. And that's just not an okay thing with me. And I care enough that I'll make sure that people understand what they're doing. And how does this make sense to you? And how is this good for you? And how is this good for the world? And if they can answer those questions, then I'll try to help. But if not, we don't need to talk about anything. And that's okay. Like,
that sounds amazing, and it reminds me. Okay, so it makes me want to like put together the most amazing deal here for the listeners. But so I'm curious. I haven't heard side effects. You know, when you watch a commercial on TV for the pharmaceutical ads, and they go through this list of side effects,
right?
Possible death and suicidal tendencies and this and that and all blah, 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 blah. And they just rattle it off while they're showing these pictures of people so happy. Like, it's a great psychological trick.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, with these bracelets, like, what are the side effects?
There's only two.
Okay.
There's only two. And both of them sound bad until they're all the way spoken. Okay. So when you first put a piece of Mistech on, it like I said, it takes on average because we don't know everyone's body type and we don't know everyone's exposure to the EMFs that they're around, right? So we know no matter what, 7 days max, it's going to do everything it can do for the body. But the first 3 days is when the body acclimates and makes the adjustments. So the first 3 days, maybe 1 out of 10, 1 out of 12 people might feel a little more restless than usual because the body has those new connectivity and sensation while you're trying to sleep. Confuses the body, it might wake you up. But as long as you don't take it off, the sleep you get will be very deep. And when you get out of bed, you're very awake and alert and confused because you're like, wait, what? And that's a side effect. Yeah. That's the first one.
So you get one your day.
Yeah. Sorry. That's the first one.
Okay.
The second one is you might get brainwashed into the ability to think for yourself.
What? That's scary. No, we don't want that, do we?
No. But that's a real side effect. That these are real concerns I have from people all the time. Like, hey, I got this. I feel amazing, but my family thinks that I'm crazy and says that this isn't real. But I've done the research and went out and looked into this. This is a real thing, right? I'm like, oh, look at that. Thinking for yourself and not listening to what other people say. Welcome to freedom.
Wow.
And that's what it is. And that's really what it is. And if anyone doesn't like it, doesn't like thinks they're not getting the effect, doesn't like the vision of the company, I will very happily please send it back and please spend the money on the chemicals and all the other stuff you need. That's okay. I'm good with it.
So that sounds to me like basically somebody could buy the bracelet. If they don't like it, send it back. Well, worst case, so there's no risk. And it's like it's like renting a car without having to pay for it because it's free. You just take it back.
Yeah.
Free rental.
Yeah, that's it. And we will get you to where you're going faster and better. Yeah. For sure.
Okay. So this is called the Inspired Change Summit, and it's about people waking up, opening their minds to more possibility, more of what they might not have considered.
Yeah.
So how could this be a tool to help people in that, waking up? Okay.
So let's say, like I said, if we all understand what we're talking about with the body not working correctly from EMFs, right? So let's put it into a percentage just for example's sake, right? What I'm saying is not scientific, for example. That's what we're going with example. So let's say that your body is only at, say, 65 to 68% optimization of what it could do, right? Because of your EMF distortion in your body, right?
You know, real quick to add to that is EMF, when we're bombarded by this EMF, these electromagnetic frequencies from cell phones and everything else going on, it actually it impedes our intracellular communication. So the cells aren't able to actually communicate the same with each other. And so there's breakdown. And so that's one of the reasons it causes a lot of cancers and other stuff, dysfunctions in the body. So
exactly.
All right, so go ahead.
No, that's perfect. And that's what I mean, that disconnect, that inability to communicate. So that's what I'm saying. Let's call that 65 to 68%.
Yeah.
Right. Just arbitrary number, but just for point. Now, let's say all these things that we're talking about in the awakened state, right? Being able to feel energy fields and be able to tune into other people's feelings and be empathy, you know, all these different things. Well, what if that you don't have access to that until you're at 82% optimization? Well, you can't get there because your EMF scrambled. Yeah. So when we get rid of the scramble and your body goes up to as close to 100% optimization as we can, you're skyrocketing past that number. Your body now has access to all these things because it's working correctly. The cells can communicate. They can communicate at a deeper level. That's what I'm saying. So many times that people have got this, they end up following with me and they start meditating and they start ordering. We have other frequencies that help with targeting just your crown or just your third eye to help open those things even more so. So, and so look at it this way. If you can visualize your body as like a stoplight, right? And your chakra points are the lights, and your electric system I'm talking about is the wiring for that thing. So if your wiring's no good, it doesn't matter how much focus you put into these light bulbs, your wiring's no good. Right. It makes no difference. Yeah. So what this is doing is this is going in and putting your body back to the Schumann resonance, the Earth's natural frequency, 7.83 hertz. So your electric system is working correctly. Now we got to make sure the bulbs are good. But if you're just focusing on these bulbs the whole time and that's no good, you're never going to get to these places that you want to because your body is not conducive enough for those energies. It doesn't have the conductivity that it needs because it's being impeded on by all this other artificial toxicity. Yeah. That's it. So that's what I like about the solfeggio frequencies is once we fix the wiring, then you can go in and get something for the crown and make sure that that bulb is really, really bright. And you can make one for here and make that really, really, really bright. But we have to clear people a lot because a lot of people want to go in and they just want access to these abilities. So they'll just order the third eye chakra. And I'm like, but you don't have the Schumann resonance. Like that's not even going to work the way that you want it to work. You need this one first. Uh-huh. Great. Wow. Does that make sense as far as how to help with the awakening? Yeah. So, and like with some of the things like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and autism, no problem. ADD, like, so we have improvements. Yeah. So we have like a whole list of things that we've had, 5,000 people give us feedback on. Wow. But Parkinson's, I think it's under 100. We have less than 100 people to go, and we'll add it to our list. The thing is if we don't hear feedback from other people, then I can't say. But for Parkinson's, and autism is one of the ones. It's tricky to talk about because the spectrum is so vast and wide. Yeah. And so and same thing with similar to ADHD. We hear really great feedback and we hear X amount % improvement, but those things have such a wide spectrum all by themselves. Like autism is a really broad word. Yeah. You mean? And so to say how much it's going to help and how definitive to this or this part, I don't feel comfortable saying that. Yeah. But I'm very, very confident in saying it will improve. I just don't know to how much and what it is that you're looking for. So that's the other thing also. It's not a magic bullet. There's I've literally had people call me on this before or email me and go, yeah, I broke my leg and it still hurts. So we can't fix everything, but hopefully the way that we've been talking about this on our talk today, people understand what I'm talking about. Yeah. So, but yeah, everything, all those things we get very good feedback on. It's just I've learned with a lot of things that it's worth trying out and see what happens, see what you experience. So, and it seems same with this, right? Like especially with money back guarantee. Like, hello. Yeah. And I understand that it's a bracelet, and there's a lot of other ones out there. And that again, I like to poke at people. I like to whatever version they want to play. I do the same thing. Yeah. So same thing. People are like, oh yeah, those bracelets, they don't work for me. And I'm like, have you tried Mystech? Oh no, they're all the same. I'm like, your wife? This is your wife? So I was just in Vegas, and there's a lot of women outside that do certain things in Vegas. I'm not going to assume that your wife does that because she looks like a woman like I saw there. I imagine that not just because they look the same, it doesn't do the same thing, or is that what you're telling me? And really quick, people are like, oh, well, okay, just because it looks the same, maybe it's not the same thing. And I really like to call it. So I know there's healing braces out there. There's all these other things, guys. It literally is a one-of-a-kind product. I swear to you. And there's other frequency things out there, still not the same thing. It's not. It is just not
So how did you come up with this technology originally?
A little over a decade ago, I came across a company that was already working on it. And I may or may not come across some very amazing research from probably the most amazing mind our world will probably ever have, that detailed some things on how this may work. And so when I start talking with these guys about, you guys have to be using a modified MRI machine, they kind of freaked out that I knew that. And I kind of freaked out that they were already as far as they were, because I was pretty sure I was the only one that had this. But to the stuff that they were at, amazing stuff. And that being said, this is what's crazy. This Conscious Life Expo I was just at in LA,
Yeah.
I met a guy that was their top sales rep 15 years ago with the first version. And when he saw what it does now, he had like a complete meltdown and freaked out. He's like, what? There's no way. But he knows the guy I bought it from. We even called him, everything. And so we took what they had, and I was like, I can make this work a lot better for you guys. And eventually they made me the third partner. And eventually I got an investor from India and bought it out from him.
Wow.
But what got me like really on board that they did have this complete-ish, we'll say, is I got one of the versions that they had, and we were going to go 4 hours north to see my mom for Thanksgiving. And on the drive up, I was like, babe, let me take your bracelet. I'm going to give it to my mom and see if it helps with her fibromyalgia at all. Because at that point, my mom had been on very heavy meds for like 6 years, and I just wanted to see. And I mean heavy to where like when I was calling, I could tell that she was medicated, you know? And so I get there, we're talking, we're catching up. I was like, oh, hey, here, I got you one of those bracelets everyone's been wearing, just like a sports bracelet. Here, we're twins. And that's all I said. I didn't tell her anything about it.
Yeah.
Well, the next morning she's dancing around making breakfast, and I thought she was on meds. And she's like, no, I'm so happy to see you guys. Like, no more of this holiday crap. You guys got to visit more often. Like, I slept all night and I feel amazing. And I'm looking at her and she's got this pink bracelet on her wrist, and I'm going, overnight? That was really fast. And they don't fully understand what fibro is, but to the most extent is it's erratic nerve function. So that's electric system being hyperactive. So for fibro, that's why it happens so fast. And she was fine for about 2 months, and then she had a really bad flare up. And then I gave her the next potency up. And this last Thanksgiving is 9 years she's been off all her meds.
Wow.
And so I was like, that was it. And because again, I know that the source of this technology and how he wanted it to be implemented and how he would handle it. So when my other partners were literally just chasing money and everything, which is fine, you know, no judgment, it's just not for me. And so I was like, hey, you guys just care about the money. How much do you need to buy it out? And that was it. And then after I got my investor, this is amazing, man. This guy, like I love him. He voluntarily stepped down out of the company because he felt he was too money focused as well from what my vision was. Wow. So once he made it, you know, he stepped down. And so now it's been just me, my wife, my 12-year-old, like he's the Prince of Mistech. He'll tell you in a heartbeat. And Jade. And most people in the company know him as well. He's been with me since he was 15.
Your brother.
And just followed me all around the country. And yeah.
Wow. So the mystical side of what people notice.
So people will tell me their meditations are usually more visual. A lot of energy workers tell me that the first couple of days trying to work with it seems a little more difficult because it is really trying to hold you to that frequency. But just like when you're working on someone and feel that blockage and can feel and acknowledge what it is, easy to move through it, and everything seems much more amplified. So again, just whatever it is that you're trying to work on and focus on, dude, at the gym, you can add 10 to 15 pounds to your bench press, feel no difference.
Wow.
So it's just whatever it is that you're working on just becomes more optimized. That's it.
I've seen some of the videos where you're doing the muscle testing on people, and it's a huge difference.
It's huge. It's huge. And yeah, there's a video where there's like an 8-year-old girl lifting me off the ground with one arm. And I weighed 205, and she was just lifting me up like it was nothing. And it's funny because in the video, her dad's eyes in the back are like the size of plates, like freaked out. Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Holy cow.
And that's really it, is just helping people come to terms with who they are and what makes them happy, and instead of chasing what they're being told they are and what should make them happy.
Yeah,
I think that's a really big dynamic that a lot of people are starting to recognize more in this new decade and moving forward. And it's very fun to be a part of that healing process for so many people. and it heals us. Like we've got trauma and craziness just like anybody else. And so as other people get healed, so do we, and vice versa. And it's an amazing version of alchemic exchange that we all get to be a part of, you know?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Wow. So I love what you're doing for the world, and that it's not just money focused like so many businesses are, right? That's, that's been one of my passions is making business no longer looking at just money as the bottom line, right? How could we
Yeah.
serve humanity? That's the actual reason. So I've taken a class on the history of corporations, right, and how they've evolved. And in the beginning, a couple hundred years ago in the U.S., they had to serve a public interest. Number one, they couldn't stay in business longer than 10 years. And if they did anything that was against the public's best interest, they were shut down.
That sounds amazing.
Right?
That's amazing. Yeah. That's great.
And
that's the problem I have is like I came from a very corporate background, very salesy, very all those things, and I was never happy. It didn't make me happy.
yeah.
It didn't, like, unless I was spending money on something to buy that little temporary, oxytocin and like it was no good. Excuse me. I drive a lot of people crazy because I don't care about money at all. And it's not because I have a ton of it. It's just I don't. Like, I just barely looked at our books when I was looking for taxes the other day. I didn't even realize how much that we've sold in the last 3 years. It's just not a thing to me. Just because if you're inspired and you're taking action and you're doing steps, like that's wealth. That's health. That's all that's there. And so even moving up to Portland, we moved up here with no house, no apartment, nothing lined up, just going, no, we don't need to worry about any of those things. Everything is always right there. It's not about finding abundance. It's about realizing that it's there and allowing it to come to you. So if you're chasing money, it's running. So I just stopped doing all those things. The cat that chases the laser on the ground will never catch it. But if it stops moving, the light will come to it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it is. And so I'm not saying like don't do anything, you still take action, but it doesn't have to be like spinning your wheels over and over and over. Like it can be something that makes you happy and make money like that, but it should be making you happy first. And then to me, it should be about improving overall life for everybody. And then the money, I guess I don't even have money in my equation personally. And again, it can get scary at times thinking that way and working that way. Absolutely. I'm not saying it's not, but I've still yet to it not work out exactly how it should at any time. Wow.
That's like highly evolved mystical idea.
yeah. It's alchemy. That's the other part of what I do aside from Mystic is, I teach this stuff, and it's not necessarily mystical or spiritual in its approach initially, but all things lead to it eventually and somehow. But I tell people, like, you don't have to adopt these things, but these routines and these perceptions of what it is that you're doing and saying in the vernacular that you use, these are the things that are the building blocks of your reality. So if you don't like what I'm saying, then don't use these things. If there's certain things like a new marketing firm I'm working with, they're like, so Hill, what are your sales goals for Q1? I'm like, no. And I was like, and watch, this is what I mean. Like, there's certain things that you can like circumvent, right, and kind of detour around that you're still getting the answer to that question without it being those words. And I was like, well, I know we average like, 70 sales a month, average is like 9, so if either of those go up, I'm happy. But that's not a definitive sales goal number. That's not money oriented. Just as long as there's an increase in whatever, that's it. I don't care. And they're all, okay, we can work with that. And so that's what I mean is like what you talk about, what you think about, what you watch, what you don't watch, where you're like, this is the reality that you're building around you. And so whether you believe that's true or not, you're still right. If you don't think that's true, you're right. It's not. You have no version of any responsibility of anything that you're doing. And as long as you feel that way, you're still going to be terrified forever because you don't have the responsibility to correct it.
Yeah.
If you know you're responsible, then you just don't know how to build the world that you want. So we go, well, look at this approach. Look at this perspective. Look at this. Look at this. And it's all subtle. And try it for a couple days. But too many people, like during New Year's, it's a very similar thing. They look at like, man, I don't like this and this and this and this. I'm going to do these 6 things. I'm going to do these 9 things. But the moment they stop doing one, they throw all the rest away at the same time. So we have a different approach. Change one routine. And after you see that for a week, now you know you're capable. Now you've got that empowerment. Now you've already made this shift. Now add this thing to it. Now stop using this word. Start using this word. Like to the people I know that are along the path, at least far down it, they don't use the word green. They say emerald. So when you're talking with people, just hearing certain words and breaths they take, eye contact, certain things like that, very quickly will assess where their energy body's at along the way. And none of it's a bad place to be, as long as you can recognize it and take accountability for it. Like, I don't know all sorts of stuff in all sorts of areas. I'm great with that. My baby's been sick for like a week. I'm terrible parent when at a sick baby. I'm so like stuck in, does he need this? My wife's amazing. That's one of my weaknesses. That's one of her strengths. God bless her little demon heart. I love her to death. She's great.
Yeah.
You know, it's wonderful. But I think that's a big thing is we're in a society where not knowing is a fault, or not being all the way complete is failing. But all these things are constantly there to improve on all the time. And so these should be things exciting. Like, I get excited when I don't know something. That's an opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. It's just it's different perspectives and ways of going through the human experience that can be really fun and magical and healthy, really terrifying and depressing and mundane. Like, so I just don't know why some people would choose this one when this option is at least available.
Right. So for people on their awakening journey, it seems like you've got plenty of wisdom to share. I'm just curious, in our kind of wrapping it up, what wisdom you might want to share with people on this journey. You know, they could be beginning or somewhere in between, but what
there's all sorts of different things, but for baseline important things that I think will help a lot of people, the very, very, very most important thing to understand is that nobody else knows what they're doing either. So taking what other people say, even me in this talk right now, like I have I think I know what I'm doing, but that's also changed over and over and over and over. So obviously every time I thought I knew what I was doing, I was wrong then too. Right? So getting into a place where what everyone else says and does and thinks about what is and what is not important, you have to get away from that. You have to get isolated. You have to get comfortable with who you are, finding out what's important to you.
Do it this way.
Yeah. None of those things. And so anything that's dogmatic or fear-based is not real. Dogma and fear are control systems. So if something is said and you're like, listen, guys, in all this energy work stuff, I work in the dark just as much as in the light. Your intent of what you're doing is what's real. So people are like, wait, you astral project and like you'll talk with like these other beings and everything? Like that, you don't think that someone might jump into your body? No, that's impossible. I'm a divine being. Nothing can do anything to me other than what I make real. So the moment I go, oh yeah, something could jump into me. Maybe. But otherwise, no, none of the fear stuff is real. Like danger, what Will Smith, danger's real, fear's not.
Yeah.
So understanding that there's things you can adjust to, you can make decisions, you can make routines, you can make preparations. But you don't have to be scared. You don't have to have that. So just knowing that you are very highly capable is one of the most important things without the need of outside validation. That's got to be the first thing. Get very, very comfortable with being alone and be excited about it. Like that's where the magic is. Tesla, Albert Einstein, all these people all say isolation is the key. Jim Carrey, isolation is the key. Get into any type. I don't care if it's a 5-minute guided meditation. I don't care if it's going to a workshop somewhere, but get into a meditative practice. Your inner self knows so much more about you and what you need than any version of your awakening thoughts could ever tell you. And this is very, very factual. Yeah. And other than that, I would find a community to plug into. Go to a metaphysical festival. Go to an expo. Go out and find your tribe. Like that's what you have to do. Understand that your family is your family, but if they don't have what you want, then that's not the family that you should be looking for. It's not to be mean to them or any of those things, but you need to go to where you're going to be nurtured and nourished the way that you need. And that can be scary and it can be lonely at times, but that loneliness is just you needing to create. That's all it is. Yeah. So isolation, remove the need of validation, meditate, and create more. Those things all by themselves will open up so many different spiritual paths for you. It's unreal. But these are things you have to do over and over and over. You have to build these routines. You have to build the synapses pathways in your brain to get access to the stuff. And the more pathways you have, the more things that you'll get access to.
Yeah. So the Mistech products are supportive in some of this, right? Are there any other top products or devices that you might suggest?
I'm a big fan of Organite. Because Organite works the way that Mistech does, but on the energy body.
Yeah.
So having Organite with you, very, very important. I was just looking for, but I think I took it downstairs for my baby. Ormus, monatomic white gold, also very amazing. And then, I mean, obviously we haven't talked about it yet, but plant medicines. Like, plant medicines are like a cheat code for so many things, because these plants remember, these plants know, these plants have those things there. And so when people think about, I don't want to put this in my body, or I don't want to take this, I need just, for, again, perception is everything, right? So I watch a lot of sci-fi, and I nerd out on cartoons and all this stuff. There's a show called Dragon Ball Z where people fuse together and become like this big ultimate being. Yeah. So if people can get into the mindset of these plant medicines, you're not putting them in your body, your energy body is fusing with this thing's energy body to create the ultimate version of that. And in that ultimate version, these pathways are being created. And once you're done, those pathways remain. So these are things that are little secret building blocks to go in and go, bloop, here's this program, bloop, here's this program. And once you have access to it, it's there. And then after that, it's just a matter of rinse and repeat until you're comfortable with it.
Yeah, I've noticed there's definitely been a big opening in the discussions around using entheogens for healing purposes and helping
Absolutely.
people to awaken their minds in whatever way.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I was just seeing that there, with like psilocybin, they're talking about legalizing that in a lot more places now. Yeah. And I'm not lying. I think within the next 5 years at most, it probably will start becoming just as legal as cannabis is now. And cannabis is one of those things to where I'm a big fan, because it's very anti-pharmaceutical stuff, but it was not something that I could see myself supporting, that I would build a business out of it.
Right.
On the other hand, if magic mushrooms become legal like that, I'll definitely become a mushroom wizard for sure, because of all the amazing healing things that come with it on such a multitude of different levels. Yeah. So, I mean, these are all things that are shortcuts. But again, it's about getting the pathway there. So if it's not something you're comfortable with, then, don't. But if you're not comfortable, find out why. Like, figure out why you're not. I had a talk with someone the other day that's still terrified of CBD because they didn't realize that it doesn't get you high. So again, like as you mentioned in the beginning, I approached the world with the Jedi alchemist mindset. Alchemy is about breaking things down to their base components and then seeing how they fit into the equation. So if there's something that scares you and you're not taking the time to find out why and what it is, and again, alchemy, breaking all of it down, you're not ever going to figure out the solutions that you're looking for. The moment one word means only one thing to you and nothing else is available, you're losing. Like, immediately, you're already losing. The moment you're like, oh, no, why? That if you don't have that, then, and I'm sorry, in my opinion, you don't have permission to speak. You don't have permission to have an opinion or idea. If you cannot explain it to another person for it to make sense, other than, well, because this is what I think, then you don't. That's just me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But that's how you get free.
Yeah. I think it's that transition from looking externally for all the answers and all the how to do this and that, and shifting it into what works for me, and experimenting and being willing to take the risk of experimenting with something and see if it works or not.
Right. Like, and that's so funny, because I'd be very surprised. Like, earlier I was talking about like the husband-wife thing, right? I'd be very surprised when I'm talking to someone and they'll be like, yeah, no, I'm not trying another one. I'm like, how have you been married to your high school sweetheart? This is crazy to me. And they're like, what? I'm like, well, you just said if something doesn't work for you, you don't want to try another thing. So think about when you're dating. If you go out and date someone and that person doesn't work for you, you don't stop dating for the rest of your life. You go, well, that one wasn't the one. You move on to the next one.
Yeah.
So that again, that's experimenting. And that's what I mean, is people don't use the exact same rules and laws and ideals for everything broad because our value system is so screwed up. So if you would apply this to this and not to this, again, you're already losing. You have to apply the same mindset to everything, the same level of experimentation, the same level of give and take, this, you know, that it has to be that way. And once you implement it, the multiverse is at your fingertips. Health, happiness, empowerment, the real tangible magic, it's all right there. But it's not if you're not trying to make it that way.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I want to thank you for being on the show and for all
man,
the.
it's awesome.
I feel like we could just keep talking forever. It's just,
yeah, for sure. Thank you.
I want to thank the listeners for tuning in, and thank you also for the products, the vision, the awarenesses, the self-education, the being responsible for your own learning, right? That you're able to be the leader in this way to make a difference in the world. I feel honored to have met you and to get to.
I'm just honestly, man, thank you. So I'm just another guy out here trying to save the world, man. There's a lot of us. This is just my approach, and I hope it works for the people it does. Thank you for acknowledging it. Like it's a lot to do all the time, but it never feels like work. It doesn't really feel draining or any of it. It's just like this is what I get to do every day. Like it's incredible. So thank you for having me on the show. It's been great.
Thank you, and much love to everyone.
Thank you guys, and we'll have to get you up to Portland soon, man. And I'd love to have you come on my show. You know, on YouTube, I've got my show, and we can talk about a couple of different things and the summit you're working on. And I think it'd be great, man. It'd be fun to do another exchange.
Perfect. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you, brother.
All the best. Take care.
See you.